In today's episode, I will explain how the left pelvic tilt is being developed and how it's being connected to so-called left AIC pattern, which is the pattern of human asymmetry from Postural Restoration Institute, and how you should treat that condition. As a success story, I will use my online patient from Canada who successfully fixed that condition with our online coaching.
Because I feel like since my left pelvis came back down like this, it's not tight anymore. It's like my body just let go of that muscle in a way, so it doesn't hurt at all.
Completely.
Completely, yeah.
Lastly, I will show you few techniques that will help you on the initial stages of the therapy. Are you ready? Let's go. How left pelvic tilt or pelvis asymmetry, AIC pattern is affecting your back pain and how to fix that. Also, today we will discuss shortly and briefly why being stuck on the left leg with the left pelvis being hiked up and the left shoulder being dropped down is still counted as a so-called left AIC pattern, but just in a different kind of way. And as a success story, I will use my patient from Canada who got fully rid of that pelvic asymmetry, that kind of pelvic asymmetry, and as a byproduct fully got rid of the pain that was torturing him for 4 years of his life. Samuel is a young entrepreneurial from Canada, and he happened to had the accident on his bicycle. And up until that moment, his life completely changed. He was miserable, he was going to different doctors, nobody was able to help him. Finally, he just noticed that his left hip is being hiked up, the left shoulder is lower. He figured out about PRI approach. However, he was trying to fix himself at home without much of the success. And finally, he messaged me and we arranged the coaching. And after like 4 months of coaching, he fully got rid of his pain. And now he is a very happy individual with huge satisfaction level. So firstly, let me show you the Samuel's posture before treatment. Now, for the most part, the pain was caused by the left erector spine muscles, which got very tight, left QL, left lower trapezius, which caused a lot of pain in the thoracic area, and of course, some small muscles in the neck area as well. So the left pelvic tilt appears every time he steps onto his left leg. The left hip goes up, the left shoulder drops down, which makes it looks like it's the opposite of what PRI teaches and preaches. But actually it's just another form of compensation, and I will cover that later in that video. But just take a closer look. Upon every left mid-stance of gait, the left hip goes higher and the left shoulder drops down than it does on the right side. Plus, on the top of that, there is some problems with the external rotation of the right foot. Basically, the right foot is pointing out because of the lack of right gluteus medius activity. Basically, the body in that way is searching for additional activation of this muscle. And the reason why it's lacking is because the pelvis is being turned to the right side. So it's like another compensation that we have covered.
You have no idea how much like stress you relieved off my shoulders because not being able to work out properly for 4 years, and I swear I probably spent over $10,000 with all these specialists trying to find physiotherapist, chiro, osteopath, doctor, acupuncture, all these things I've done, and I've seen several. And nobody's been able to do 1% of what you've done. Yeah, so you're changing lives. This issue, everything has been going on for 4 years, 5 years, and I've seen over 15 specialists. Over 15. The two biggest ones are in back right here. Used to hurt so much, like I couldn't do any exercise in the back. And the other one is my lower back. Because I feel like since my left pelvis came back down like this, it's not tight anymore. It's like my body just let go of that muscle in a way, so it doesn't hurt at all.
Completely,
yeah. Like I'll just show you like before when I would like bend on this side. So like my right, when I would stretch out this side,
Yes.
I would never have a pain. But on this side, I wouldn't even be able. But now it's the same. Like this side is the same as this side. So that's why I'm saying it's like 100% gone. Is because before I couldn't even go down because of the limited. I would just touch here, it'd be soft, and here it'd be completely tense on my lower back here.
Yes.
It's like I felt like I had a lot of symptoms that got better automatically with time. Like for example, since my neck and my shoulder was always all tense, I feel like I lost. Like you remember, I told you there's scapular winging on my left side.
Yes, I remember.
It wasn't really winging. It was just like it was winging on the right side, but the left was just that. Because my nerves, I think, were so trapped, I kind of like lost control of that side. But that got better automatically just by freeing up the muscle, and then I feel like the connection restored. So that's like better.
Yeah. But it improved a lot also.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like 80%, 90%.
90%. It's amazing. How long you've been exercising so far from the very beginning?
It's been about 4 months now.
4 months. And and first 2 months, I guess, you were not able to sense much of the changes, right? It was not the...
Yeah. The changes came in the last month and a half, maybe. I don't know if it was like I was getting used to the techniques or something. So yeah, I think it was more like I needed to build the mind-muscle connection.
So what we did with Samuel, that we have established the online coaching where I taught him all of these techniques with very big precision. So each and every small details, I could see where he's doing something wrong, and I could teach him all the necessary habits and everything that should be done in order to fix that condition. But the key word is progression. So postural restoration does not work with the primitive exercises on the floor most of the time. You really have to progress towards these more challenging movements. And it takes some time, it takes some months before you can really achieve a proper form without the compensation. I'm really suggesting you to watch my recent video about why you have failed with PRI. So I have explained there how the PRI protocols actually should be working. Lastly, let's reiterate everything again. The lower body symptoms are fully resolved. There is no left hip pain, or I believe left lower back pain muscles.
Yeah,
Which other symptoms did you have there? On the lower part of the body?
every single time I would take a step, my left knee would crack on the outside. Here would always crack because I feel like my IT band here
Correct.
was so it wasn't knee pain, it was the IT. Yeah,
Exactly. So we have inhibited IT band with the medial hamstring and left gluteus medius. Yes.
because every time I take a step, it click every time. Now it's never, that happens never during the day. My hip doesn't pop. Before I would do this, just like lean forward, and it would always pop. Now nothing. Just if I'm staying seated for a long time, it's gonna happen, but only one time.
Okay.
And the biggest difference is in my gait cycle. Like just when I'm walking normally, I can really feel that it's like this hip drops because I look back at the first video I sent you and there's a huge difference. Like it's crazy.
Now you can see his walk after 4 months of the therapy. So there is a noticeable changes in the hip elevation, depression. His rib cage is rotating much more better. Now he's not getting stuck on either leg. And what is also noticeable that his right foot is not pointing outside anymore because he can sense the right gluteus medius very well. So what happened to Samuel is after the bike accident, he fell off onto his left hip. As a means of protection, his body reacted with overwhelming activation of specific chains of muscle. Now, why the left shoulder being dropped down with the left hip hike is still form of the left AIC pattern? It's a very tricky question to answer and to address, but let me explain you in a simplistic way. So left AIC is responsible for either leg for stepping forward activity. Left AIC is mainly hip flexors muscles and external rotators, and these muscles, chains of muscles, are pulling your left hip forward. That's why and how you are walking. And if you got stuck in the left AIC, it means the body is overly using these chains of muscles without letting them go. Now the tricky situation to understand that there are few phases of left AIC activity. There is beginning, there is a mid-range, and there is its end. Just like a walk has its phases, the left AIC has its phases of musculature contraction. Now, depending on in which state of left AIC you will get stuck, it ultimately will dictate which visual representation of your posture you will acquire. Now, let's dissect that with more details. So as I just told you, there are a few phases of the left AIC, hence the body gets stuck in each and every of that phase of gait. Now depending on the specific situation, every time your body may look a little bit different. But when it goes pretty much for today's topic, which is the left hip hike, most of the time we are talking about that the body, the brain is overly referencing the phase of gait, which is the left heel strike. So the left heel strike is the phase of gait when you are traveled with your left leg forward, and right now you are landing on the left heel. And pretty much from that moment, the left AIC pattern, the left AIC muscle should be turned off. But many times when you are landing on the left heel, these hip flexors are not getting turned off. They are still on. Hence, they are pulling the left ilium up as it naturally should occur actually during the left heel strike. But since they are never truly turned off, you see ongoing tilt on the left side, and your walking cycle is getting like a broken record. So basically you being hiked up on the left and the entire lower body is turned to the right, and then you return to the middle line. And when you try to reciprocate, to do the opposite thing, the body does not fully go into the full range of motion with the full musculature activity that it's supposed to happen. So how do we rehab that situation? How do we treat that condition? Which exercises should we pick? Which techniques and habits should we implement into our daily schedule? The answer is rather complex, because even though you might have the left hip being hiked up, you may actually having so much different symptoms than the Samuel does. You may have the tightness of the right lower back, the right groin, the right neck. And based off that, the treatment option will be different. I know it's kind of confusing, but the world of neurology is really confusing itself. But firstly, what Samuel did, that he could not manage to fly to our office, so we started to do the online coaching, and that's how we actually treated the Samuel. So I would encourage you to do the same if you have similar type of problem, and I can give you super good result only if you will be committed and if you are eligible for that type of treatment. So click the link below and you will see all of the details. Now, right now, I will show you a few ideas and exercises, but before you have to understand the overall principle. So if I would oversimplify our treatment plan, firstly, we have to inhibit the overwhelming amount of activities of the left AIC pattern chains of muscles. So the inhibition could only happen if we are using the hip extension, because left AIC flexing the hip, and we have to do something opposite without using the big buttock muscle, without using the left erector spine muscle, because most of the time the body will attempt to use these muscles as a means of compensation. So we have to inhibit firstly the left AIC chain of muscles, but right after, what we have to do is to facilitate the right AIC activation, because believe me or not, the right AIC chain of muscle will start to turn your pelvis in the transversal plane to to the left. So as soon as you will be able to develop the right AIC or right stepping mechanic, the body will slowly start to revert the pelvis to the more optimal orientation. And when you have turned the pelvis to the left, finally you have to counteract with the rib cage and turn it to the right. Because when you are turning to the right, you are doing exactly the opposite of where the sandwheel got stuck. And finally, in order to release the neck, you have to turn again the head to the left side. So that is the mechanic that we have to restore. So let me show you a few techniques and ideas and principles which may help you to start to change the situation to the opposite side.
So that particular technique will target your both glute max on both sides and will steer your pelvis into the more neutral position. Nonetheless, left buttock activity is more important here than the right one because left glute max will inhibit overactive TFL and hip flexors. Right now, rely on the right side of your body and flex your hips into the 90-degree angle. Place your right foot on the floor and make sure underneath your right knee there is a rolled up towel. Now make sure the right foot is being firmly connected with the wall, but the left foot should only touch the wall on its forefoot. Now, with each inhalation that goes through the nose, try to elevate the left knee up, and then with each exhalation, slowly return the left knee down. And so inhalation through your nose, lift up, exhalation through your mouth, move it down. Repeat this 5 to 10 repetitions. Upon that movement, you should feel the left glute maximus. But at the same time, you should press the right knee into the towel and the right heel into the wall, which will provoke to activate your right gluteus maximus as well.
Now do the 5 repetitions and repeat 3 sets of them.
So another movement to turn the pelvis to the left orientation. Just as I told you, in order to turn the pelvis to the left, you have to use the right leg and vice versa. Hence, you have to utilize right AIC pattern. Part of the right AIC pattern activity is being the lateral hamstring, which acts also as an external rotator of the right hip when it's being flexed forward. So let's facilitate, let's activate that muscle so it's going to help us to turn the pelvis into the more proper position.
Elbows under your shoulders. Underneath your left foot should be a block or a platform. Now, flex your right knee and move your right foot off the floor. Drop your right knee down so you can see my right knee is lower than my left knee, and move your right knee forward just a bit like so. From this point, from this position, and you should feel the activation of your right lateral hamstring. If you don't feel it though, move your right hip, right knee a bit more forward like so, and do more the external rotation of the right foot like this. Hold that position all the time. Feel the burning sensation right here and breathe. Watch closely. I'm moving my right knee lower than the left one. I'm flexing my right hip forward like this, but not like this. Gently, just slightly. And right now, I'm doing the excessive external rotation of the right thigh, like so.